So this is really learning objective 3, which is to kind of understand the difference between quantity demanded and demand, and then put that into what we call market demand. So we've already defined quantity demanded in our previous examples, and it's basically the number you are willing to buy at a particular price. And we had the law of demand that said that's a negative relationship. You're willing to buy fewer at a higher price. So graphically, so again, Q is the quantity of something, and P is the price. Okay, so we're going to tend to draw a lot of graphs where we have the quantity on the horizontal axis, the price on the vertical axis. Now let's say that this is, we're looking at coffee from my previous example. And so when the price was $3, my quantity demanded was 1. That's how many I wanted to buy at a particular price. The price was $2. My quantity demanded was 2. So the individual points here represent quantity demanded. Demand, or the demand curve, is the entire relationship between price and quantity demanded. So demand, or demand curve, is the entire relationship between price and quantity demanded. So the demand curve, I'm going to trace out all of the points between price and quantity. I'm going to label this with a D that stands for demand, or demand curve. Right? It tells me at any possible price how many cups of coffee I would be willing to buy. Right? So if you want me to get 5 cups of coffee, it's going to require a lower price than to get me to buy 1 cup of coffee. The law of demand, or diminishing marginal benefit, in play. Okay, so it sounds like a subtle distinction, but it's very important to, in your head, differentiate quantity demanded, a point on the curve, versus demand, which is the entire curve. So this is 1 point on the curve. And as I change the price, I move along the curve. So very important, a change in the price of the good, in this case coffee, moves me along the curve, which represents a change in my quantity demanded. So a change in the price from $3 to $2 moves me from here to here, a movement along the curve, a change in quantity demanded. Change in the quantity demanded not demand. Right? And we'll cover next in the next learning objectives what it means for demand to change is an entire change in the curve. Right? At every price, I'm willing to buy more or less is a change in demand, as opposed to moving along the curve, a change in quantity demanded. Now, it might not be clear yet why I'm making that distinction, and it probably won't be until the next few videos when we actually start working with a demand and supply model to see why we're distinguishing between these two. But for now, try to get that noted. What does it mean to move along the curve versus a change in entire demand curve? Okay, now, one last point is to go from an individual demand curve to a market demand curve, right? So if I looked at in the city of Oshkosh, total demand for coffee. Right? How would I get that? Well, I would take all of the individual demand curves and I would add those up. So let's do a very simple example. We'll take Bob and Alice. And I'm going to look at, for different prices, how many cups of coffee Bob and Alice are willing to buy. Right, so let's say it's at $5, Bob is willing to buy one, Alice is not willing to buy any. So these are their quantity demanded of each individual. $4, we'll go 2, 1, 3, 2, 4, 3, just to make it simple, right? So we've got the usual demand relationship. As the price goes down, the quantity demanded for each person goes up. So this gives each of them an individual demand curve. The total market demand then just adds up the individual demands at each price. So it's 1 plus 0 equal to 1 is market demand. At $4, 2 plus 1 is 3. So at $4, total demand in Oshkosh for coffee will be 3, right? The quantity demanded. 3 plus 2 is 5. 4 plus 3, or 7. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of draw out a graph here. Quantity and price. And we have $5, 4, 3, and 2. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay, so I could plot their individual demand curves, right? Here's Bob. 5 is 1, 4 is 2, 3 is 3, and 2 is 4. So here's Bob and Alice. 5 is 0, 4 is 1, price is $3, it's 2, $2, it's 3. So here is Alice. And the market demand curve just adds all of those up. So the market demand curve is $5, it's 1. Here it's 1 plus 2, which gives us 3. $3, it's 2 plus 3, which gives us the 5. At $2, it's 3 plus 4, which gives us the 7. So market demand is just adding up the individual demand curves. So you'll notice on the homework questions, there's a very similar type of table where you have individual demands and market demand, and you need to just simply figure out one of the missing pieces. And this is the basic idea. In order to do that, they always have to add up in this particular way.